Welcome into Real Kyper and Bourne. I am Justin Bourne. You're probably not used to my voice bringing you in, and that is because we're without Nick Kyprios today. But we have upgraded. We have picked up on the waiver wire today.
With
picked up
extra peppers.
Gord
Stellick.
Stellick. Gord, how are you?
Well, what am I, the James Reimer, waiver wire pickup? I'm really good. I guess Kipper's visiting his daughter. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or was he trying to keep it quiet? Is he on assignment?
He's on assignment.
Yeah.
He's in parts unknown.
He's getting his Stanley Cup ring refitted or something. Whatever.
The honest answer is like you wouldn't even believe how little we communicate off the air. I think he's in Eastern USA somewhere.
I think he's maybe going to see a Clemson football game potentially. I don't really know.
But when you
Didn't he go to South Carolina?
when you chat with Kipper,
Yes.
you'll chat. He's very personable.
Oh yeah.
But you'll chat and he'll be distracted by a myriad of things, usually texting, and then you'll get the delayed 3 minutes later. So what? Wow, so your son's doing yeah, that's what I said 3 minutes ago. I didn't think you were listening. And
I would say 80% of my mornings start with him on his phone as I walk in going, "What's up, bud?" And I say, "Yeah, I was just doing this." And he goes, "Good." No processing of it. It's great. Thanks for joining us, Gord. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
We got Derek Brandeo and Jake the Snake Schultz on tech. We are live on Sportsnet 5. Oh, it's Frank the Tank, Sam McKee.
Yep.
On the hook for that one. We'll welcome
Listen, it's
Nebraska in the house.
an absolute rotating cast of characters up there.
Yeah.
I'll eat that one, but yeah, it's my bad. Sorry, Frankie boy.
But live on 590 The Fan and Sportsnet 360 and Sportsnet Plus. So, Gord, we haven't had you in studio yet this year.
Mm-hmm.
The Leafs have played a few hockey games. Do you want to share some early impressions of this year's Toronto Maple Leafs?
Well, first, I love what you've done with the place.
Thank you.
Yeah, looks
Sam and I
really. Maybe
personally.
it looks the same, but that okay. The Toronto Maple Leafs. It's like my taking calculus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in grade 12, there was grade 13 back then, and then
Insane to me as a boy from Western
first and
Canada.
second year university, I took it. You had to take it for 1 year. And then because my mark didn't quite hit 50, I took it for a second year. So it's like every year I felt good about things.
Yeah.
And then the exam happened and it didn't go so great. Okay.
Mhm.
And so that's the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I feel good about things again,
Okay.
like I've done every year. And the final exam, which we'll talk about game number 82 and a half, game number 83, of course, will be the ultimate litmus test. But as far as the positives now, lots of positives. Like finding a way to win games. Come in first place.
Yeah.
Get home ice advantage. Don't have the tough first-round opponent, right? Just get the whole thing about kicking ass, scoring your building, making home a difficult place for opponents to play. So I've liked all that. I don't get overly excited that Austin Matthews hadn't scored, that the power play hadn't worked, whatever it may be. What kind of effect is Craig Berube going to make? What kind of effect is Austin wearing the C going to do? It's a lot to expect in 5 games, that minutia. But that's what we do. That's why we have talk radio and talk TV. So I just look at it a big, big positive start, which a lot of other teams can't say they have that. It's nice to get a positive start.
So, Gordy, a lot of people talk to you about the Leafs. I'm assuming a lot of people come to you about the Leafs, talk to you about the Leafs in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
I have to say the tone around the start of this season is much different than even in the last 2 years.
Feels like they've been studying harder than you in calculus, Gord, is what he's saying.
What I'm saying is that I think the change of coach, and I think we all kind of pined for change in the offseason, talking about Marner potentially getting all that stuff that didn't happen. But the thing that did happen was the new coach. And I feel like the talk around them amongst my friends, amongst my Leaf fan people that are in my life, it's a much more positive feel and less. I don't know what the right word for it is. It just feels a little more positive in the conversations I have. Do you feel the same way?
Well, I think so, and I'm not going to fly off the handle like I did this, but I like flying off the handle about the big differences and Sheldon Keefe actually saying, we didn't finish it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a great regular season coaching record. I'm going to get another job. He didn't say that, but he did get another job.
Yep.
But no, we did not complete the deal as an ownership, a management, a coach, and the players. And finally, they're espousing that understanding. It doesn't cut it. I did a corporate thing once, one and only once, that Brendan Shanahan, we did kind of a hot stove with the Milk Group. I must have done well because they're now on their jerseys for the last 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
the
about
Milk
1,000
Big
people.
Milk called you.
A lot of people. There's a lot of milk out there. So about 1,000 people. And so let me get it right. So it's heading into COVID, so 2020. So middle of that season,
Yeah.
COVID hadn't hit yet. And someone asked that question about if you don't have the playoff success. And he said, I know it's not the answer you want to hear. I know it's not the sexy answer, but you just have to go back at it again and, believe in what you do and all that. But, here we are 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even Brendan Shannon would say, I wouldn't give that same answer 4 years later like I gave back then. That was before they played Columbus and Montreal and all those things. So it held water for a few years. They had a plan. It was going well. But now, yeah. So I just think any kind of positive, how will it translate later in the playoffs? Well, you got to think positively. If it's going well, that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I think, isn't it the old metaphor that like a rock splitter, like you hit the same place a million times and it doesn't happen, then the million and first time it just splits in two. It kind of feels like the Maple Leafs' only hope here, that this thing all at once just kind of comes together, even though the metaphor is about falling apart. Anyway.
And they weren't saying, but also they weren't saying, the criticisms for poor so-and-so.
Yeah.
Like that used to be the thing, like it'd be like poor Gord getting criticized for flunking calculus. And I should. What do you mean poor Gord? Like whatever. I mean, I got to take it again and I got to, whatever. It's on me, right?
Well,
and
that's the Marner conversation, is it not?
I said a player. But anyway, yeah. but that's what's different now. You're 100% right about never mind that crap. Okay, whatever. Just, and I like it. They all own up. They got a very comfortable group on and off the ice. They get it. This could be, like you see Crosby and Malkin the other night, just the milestones together. Like, honest to God, like in X number of years, these guys could I'll include Riley, but the three forwards and then Riley. But that could be them. Mm-hmm. They could be setting records like, oh my God, it's Austin's 1,000th point tonight. Yeah. Mitch got his 700th assist last week.
But how different is it if it doesn't come with team success?
Totally. That is not successful.
Yeah.
That is not successful. But I mean, that's what it could be. I mean, they've committed to being here. Mitch apparently wants to be here. So theoretically, if they get some team playoff success, that could be a case down the road. That'd be neat.
It is funny. You see guys who had great careers. I think of Charles Barkley on the TNT broadcast, who constantly just like, he has to hear about it all the time. Doesn't matter what his individual accomplishments were. The thing that stands out when you think of Barkley is like, he's the guy who didn't win it. So it will have an effect.
I think the best parallel for the Leafs would be the Sharks, right? Would be that era of the Sharks. But the Sharks went deep in playoffs. They went to the finals they go twice or once.
I think they did, but I also think it was later in the tenure of
there's no parallel. Yeah. There's no parallel. No. Even the Washington Capitals, when they hadn't won the Stanley Cup, would win playoff rounds.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're right.
They'd lose in the second round of the Penguins.
Yeah.
Something, whatever. Yeah, they'd get by. Yeah, but no, this is sort of unparalleled.
Yeah. Well, if they're going to get through, one of the things that's been talked about is goaltending. Love to talk about that because Ilya Samsonov is not the guy. Go back years. None of them were the guy. Joseph Woll was supposed to be the guy this year. Anthony Stolarz looks unbelievable, but the Woll injury story still interests me. We do have an update.
We have two separate updates.
Two separate updates from Berube, and do we not have one from Woll? We have two four clips on it.
Yeah.
Does one contradict the other?
No.
Okay, good.
You drive the bus on the clips in the order there.
All right. Well, we'll start with Berube, clip 1, just his first update on Woll.
How did Woll look to you today?
Good. Yeah, he's out there with us, which is a great sign. And, seems like, he's really heading in the right direction. All good.
Good. I like that one.
Google the phrase vague. Jeez.
But also, it seemed like he was in good spirits there.
Berube, clip 2 update on Woll, please, Derek.
Do you have a sense of a timeline for when you might be ready for games?
Sooner than later, I would think. But, you got to kind of take it day by day still. I think it's important here after practice just to see where he's at. And I haven't talked to him yet, so we'll figure that out.
Way to go, Craig. He's learned. Be personable. He actually he was an insider for us on NHL Morning Skate after he got fired in St. Louis. He was once a week insider. Craig,
oh, yeah?
And he was good. He was a little more forthcoming than that. But he understood about Toronto, like in a sense. So, be personable, be friendly. Yeah. Don't be a jerk.
Don't say anything
but don't get, be, I don't call it vague, but you're right. Yeah.
Well, David. Hey, let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, he's not being inaccurate. He was on the ice. It's like Gord showed up for calculus class.
You're there.
He's doing a great job of putting on a nice guy move here.
For sure. Just, it's October 18th.
October 18th?
Yeah, of the first year of his tenure.
Yes.
So we're 2 weeks into his career.
Yeah, he's doing a great job of being a nice guy.
But who said he's not a nice guy?
I know.
No, he is a nice guy.
I know he's a nice guy, but I just mean in terms of not, I'm saying he's doing a great job because I wouldn't be able to sit there every day and answer these questions about Woll when he clearly doesn't really know, I would be like, you know what? I'll tell you when it's
I'll tell
ready.
you.
Like it's.
Well, I love being here and evaluating these comments and not being Luke Fox, who has to lob the question every day. And then,
I know.
because one day it feels like he's going to be like, enough.
Yeah, but you got to
Enough.
ask it. I mean, hey, look what they're making money-wise. And this is a big part of their job.
Yeah.
They don't allow assistant coaches to speak anymore, right? There's only one voice. And, you know, Mike Babcock, we went through the Sermon on the Mounts all the time, you know, him lecturing us about things. So I thought Sheldon Keefe was really good at this. And the Craig Berube, the misnomer is he's not, and even Vince Lombardi was beloved by him. I'm going way back, but you know, those kind of old legends, right?
Yeah,
was
yeah.
beloved by his players when it was all said and done. Everyone's going to go, look, Craig Berube, he's not going to take that crap. If you coach like that or think you can from decades ago, you're screwed in 2024.
Yeah.
You know, and he gets it. So there, but there is a difference. There's something he has, and it's good. And I don't know whether we call it toughness or an edge or whatever. That is different than what Sheldon Keefe had or others, and it's a big time positive. And it was a significant reason why the St. Louis Blues won a Stanley Cup.
For sure. And we also have Woll on this.
Yeah, so we can play the first Woll clip.
Is he vague too about himself?
On his his first clip, please, Derek, on his injury. Woll.
We spoke to you right before the season. You sounded so excited to play in that first game. What happened? What kept you out?
Yeah, you know, just a little bit of groin tightness, and feeling better now. So right now I'm just focused on coming back and helping his team.
He said a thing. He said
Yeah.
he said what it is. God, that's nice.
Yep.
Boy, that's never a problem historically. Goalies with groin tightness.
Always works out perfectly.
The Ottawa Senators are waiting for Dominic Hasek to come back from the Olympics that year.
Oh no.
Oh,
Groin
you're
tightness.
so right.
But okay, it's a groin. Nice.
And then his second clip, please, Derek, where he takes. Oh, go ahead.
You know, truthfully, I don't want to get too much more into it. If that's okay. Yeah, just focused on getting better now.
So he did what I would do.
He
He said, "I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore." So
What else do you have to say about groin tightness? What
Yeah.
what
well,
kind
that's
of
a great point.
there was
There's
four
there's
separate questions about it.
seriously?
But there's no additional information there. My groin was tight.
Well, that
Like is
that,
your,
an-
left,
tightness
is
was
your
in my
left side
groin.
worse than your right side? Like what do you got? Like come on.
that answer came off of somebody asking when it happened and what it was that it happened. Like how did it happen
Yeah, I want the
basically? And he's
answers
like,
to those questions.
and he just said, "I don't want to talk about it anymore." So
That's good reporting.
I
Whoever
don't
asked.
blame him.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
but I don't really blame the reporter either for following up.
Hey,
When did, you know,
no,
Of course.
There's no such thing as a bad question.
No.
So the big question is, Gord, where are you at with Woll?
That's a brutal question.
No, that's a big
Okay,
question.
yeah.
Where are you
I-
at with him?
So game number one, where I'm at, and again,
Yeah.
I want to get perspective and context. But I did say game number one that okay, things about the season. You know, you just gotta guys. They have to find their scoring in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they'll score in the regular season, whatever. Guys have to come up with a big game-defining moment that doesn't show in the score sheet. And so far, they've had that. Whether it's the third or fourth line being a difference in games, but then about the goaltender's health. So when he did not play Game 7 last year,
Yeah.
and then wasn't ready for Game 1, I said, oh, crap, one of the boxes already is unchecked,
Yeah.
okay? And that remains unchecked. It'll remain unchecked to game number 83 for El Gordo. Even if he plays 45 games and doesn't get hurt again, there's still that kind of worry. But the flip side, there's no surprise. If you followed last year, Anthony Stolar statistically was one of the top goaltenders in the NHL. And goaltending is the one thing that statistics really, you can, even, you don't have to look deep.
No.
You can look deep for other stuff, and you're quite good at that. But goaltending, it's pretty simple. People can look and make, hey, goals against average, save percentage, yada, yada, yada. So that was the plus that, unlike Samsonov, like you said earlier, they got somebody else that, another stud. I'm just really big on Joe Woll. I'm really big on him. If he gets the chance, what I've seen, I've really liked. But I just, when it starts again, that's a legitimate concern.
It is funny that we feel no closer to an answer. Like, is he available soon? We got games Monday, Tuesday, Thursday next week. I expect him to be in a Leafs jersey by Tuesday.
You'd hope.
I would hope.
I just, I think at some point here,
No, but what's the difference? What do you mean you hope? What's the difference?
Well,
so what if it's another week?
I just,
So another 2 weeks?
Well,
I think
I don't know. Like, how much of a Band-Aid are you okay with the guy being before it's like, this is a real problem?
Well, no, I just
They
want
gave
him
him
to, I know
$11
you
million
want him to get healthy too. You're not
Yeah.
talking about rushing him, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, okay, like whatever it is, then he gets back. And like I said, I even said if he plays the rest of the season and doesn't have another like game lost due to injury, but whether he misses the next 2 games or the next 10 games, you're still going to be kind of on pins and needles. And next time go, oh no, not again. 50 games into the season, whatever it may be.
that's basically what, it's a fan's perspective, but even when he gets back into the game, every shot that goes towards him, you're going to be thinking about it. And I'm sure like the people that work in the
Nobody
organization.
thinks like you, Sam.
No,
No.
you
I'm
don't
not
think-
like every. Come on, every shot.
You don't think
you gotta
Treliving-
watch the bloody
you don't
game?
think Treliving
like
is sitting
every
there-
shot, like
Yeah,
this
just
game's
watching
good. Oh my
this
God,
game.
shot
Well,
against Joe Woll.
I would say that, and you mentioned the Game 7 thing last year, that it really
Damaging.
was a deep cut in terms of how it made everybody feel. And I think it paints a lot of how we're feeling about it to start this year, like you mentioned in your thing there.
My
I just,
tirade.
I would like to see him get in there soon.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be listening to Berube every day being like, yeah, it's getting close, because it's.
Well, he doesn't want to say it either.
I know he doesn't.
Yeah,
but he's
but-
being a nice guy. He's being a nice guy.
But
But
remember we went that whole thing about we had to get because Kawhi Leonard with load management, so we had to get Freddie load management. And then Freddie started getting hurt all the time, right?
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah,
anyway.
it's goaltenders are like voodoo, and no one seems to have an answer.
But it is nice
The
to
one thing with Stolarz that I
Yeah.
like is the question you've labeled as "What's the catch?"
Yeah.
Like it just seems like everything's great. Great guy, big guy, moves
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
stops the puck. 29 years old, cheap. What are we missing?
Yeah.
We'll be the Charlie Lindgren this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Charlie Lindgren of Washington, right? That's why Darcy
Great
Kemper's in LA. Like the guy
comparison.
gets a chance, and he could be the guy.
Could be the guy.
And too bad Joe Woll. Like, you know, Jordan Binnington sees the opportunity in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Too bad Ville Husso, who was ahead of him, you know,
Yeah.
at the time. That'd be great.
Not the guy is Timothy Liljegren
Mm.
on the back end. God, they practiced today, and Liljegren's out again.
Yeah.
He's back out. You know, you mentioned before we came on air the shot attempts when he was on the ice last game. Like, how does that happen? 20 against and 2-4. Tough to get back in the lineup when you're a fringe guy, but boy, tough to do anything with Liljegren if he doesn't play hockey games. Like he's just gonna watch until Timmins gets hurt. But on the other hand, how do you keep Timmins out, who didn't do anything wrong? And I think they just wanted to get Liljegren in at some point.
Yeah. It's got to be tough to be Liljegren because we've talked about this, Gordo, that he's not exactly the type of guy that's going to go in there and do a bunch of amazing things to like wow you, right? Like his whole thing is to be sort of solid and just kind of a quiet defenseman. And when you're trying to make an impact on a coach, maybe that's not the best thing to do. I don't know what your thoughts are on him, but it seems like they're in a tough spot with him.
Well, they weren't really thrilled about his contract negotiation either. I know, kind of just thought that it could have been handled differently and settled more amicably, whatever. But I mean, they move on from stuff.
Yeah.
You should. But it kind of showed
$3 million.
it showed a sign of how he valued himself, and they negotiated probably a little higher than they wished. I mean, it's just after Rasmus Sandin and Stuart Percy years ago, and that like, can we develop a defenseman in Toronto?
Yeah.
Like, Morgan Riley is it? So you're hoping, and I'm honest to God, Justin, I'm trying to remember now that when Liljegren played his best, it's all kind of morphing together because I thought Rasmus Sandin had kind of crossed to the next level, and I mean they did get a first round pick for him, and they used it quite well with Easton Cowan, right?
Yeah.
But in the case of Liljegren, I'm trying to think. Do you remember, like, when did he play his best? Like, it seems like he never did now, but I know, like, what was
last year in like February,
glimmers.
March, there was like a time when it was like he's figured it out.
And before the Marchand thing, like at the start of the year last year,
He
he
was
had
looking
really kind of turned it on a bit. And then Marchand trips him into the end boards and
That's right
he's
too.
high ankle sprain. I remember we were talking about him being on the way
He
up.
got his footing
yeah,
back.
the injury thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny because he came back from that, and we chalked up a run of poor play to he's coming off this injury. But he looks like that same guy now. So was it related to injury at all? Then tough to say. We do have Berube on Connor Timmins, who I think is a decently high upside guy, given the way he sees the ice, his size, right shot. So let's hear Berube clip 3.
I thought he played well. Moving the puck and doing those things, he's capable of doing that. He's a good puck mover. He's a good playmaker. He can make plays. He sees the ice pretty well. And for me, it's all about the defensive side of things. He was killing penalties, which was good, and he did a good job. And making sure he's strong defensively, strong in the battles. Winning those because that's important. Because that's what we need from him.
I wish we had yesterday's Liljegren clip from Berube because he said he needs to be strong in the battles, win his battles. Like he's like, whoever's going to be my 6D, I would like you to win.
He was fine. I mean, he's out there killing penalties.
So the interesting part about
he got 14 minutes, 5-on-5. I don't know what it was.
Liljegren yesterday.
He was pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the one, but whatever. The same idea is that he wants that D to win puck battles.
so
Not asking much.
So here's maybe the whole flip of things, that he is the example Craig Berube's using. That, okay, you're the third and fourth lines, the forwards, it seems to be they understand the style of play Craig Berube wants them to play. Like, and we talk about it more north-south. Not that Sheldon Keefe wanted them to go exclusively east-west, but just a little bit more about, and we saw with the goals they got about, like Lawrence, the one about just being more aggressive, maybe taking more chances. You may end up with more odd man rushes against, but whatever kind of thing. If you got a chance to press in the offensive zone, take it. Come at them hard, okay? And we've seen that. And probably what he's saying, look, if you're going to be a fifth or sixth defenseman on my team, you got to play a certain style. Mm-hmm. And Liljegren, you ain't playing it,
right? Okay,
and the rest of the team, he ain't playing it right now. Yeah. And if you're going to be my fifth or sixth D, or if you're going to be my third or fourth line, that's a minimum. You got to play that. I can take from Marner and Willie and other guys. They can get a little more slack, or what do you want to call it? I mean, you're not going to be able to cheat, but I mean, you guys got to do that. Yeah, that's a style that I insist you play.
Yeah, I think Derek does have yesterday's clip on Liljegren, because it is funny to hear him say that about Timmins. And now let's hear the Liljegren one.
He has ability, right? Skating, moving the puck, and things like that. And he should be a good puck mover. And it's just about him managing his game and managing his puck movement and making good decisions with it, not risky ones, and simple. Just simplify. And then you got to win your battles, right? As a defenseman, it's important that you're defending well and you're strong at your net front and you're winning those board battles and corner battles and things like that. He's got to do that.
And if you're Yanni Hakanpää, hearing Berube talk about what you want from your 6D, you're just like,
yeah,
let me in.
Yeah,
I'm your guy.
Yeah.
We'll see if his knees will allow him to get in.
Yeah, I think Kyper said it yesterday. If you're playing Benoit and Hakanpää as your bottom pair, you need somebody to snap it out of there and break it out a bit. But maybe not those two guys. Maybe they're more for penalty killing, whatever. But those two together,
Hakanpää.
For sure. But
he also keeps going, if he gets 25, 30 games, that'd be good. Well, when does that start? When do we start talking about him?
Well, he's still in the LCIR, right?
Yeah, he was. But, I mean, they signed him in, like, July.
Well,
for the first time.
I was going to say the first time for 2 years, and then at the start of training camp, it was for 1 year.
And we had an orthopedic surgeon come on and say all it is pain management. So when, he's not growing cartilage between the knees. So,
yeah, well, I don't know about what injury. Well, again, I don't know about injuries. Like just when we talk about Joe Woll or anybody and how a player. So what the orthopedic guy is saying that. That's always the thing when someone says you can't do any structural damage to it, correct? Mm-hmm. Like you just got pain and you got to play through the pain. And so are we saying he can't play through the pain? Is that
well, the implication is how much pain can he handle that's how many games he'll play was the implication from Jason Smith, Dr. Jason Smith. So
and he's skating now, right? So he's on the ice at practice. Right. So so is Dewar.
So maybe 10 games, or sorry, maybe was it 7 games or 10 games till he can play?
10 games. I think it's 10 when they're going to LTIR. I think it's 10 games. So it'll still be a little while before they're eligible to come off.
And regardless, I'm not going to get way ahead, but everyone does to the trade deadline.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to add a Joel Edmondson again as a minimum. Mm-hmm. Like you're going to have to add a depth team. I mean, that's just kind of understanding, looking at that, and that's not a ridiculous price. And Luke Shen. I mean, those were two really good examples of what the last couple of years about picking that up. So. Anyway, the Leaf D still has that look that, we need one more chip and we need guys to stay healthy.
Yeah. It feels like it's there for Liljegren or Timmins, but I don't think that's the fit Berube wants.
You could probably use a center too.
Yeah.
At some point here.
That would be decent.
Yeah.
You want to do the Tavares line or Rempe Reeves?
Well, we can talk a little bit about Rempe Reeves, but somebody asked Berube about it today and just like it was the circus coming to town last year. The reporter said the circus coming to town last year with Rempe coming in.
It was. Rempe, he was in the thick of everything.
Yeah. And what basically Berube thought the role of fighting was these days. And he answered the question there. So play that clip there.
You go out and play the game. You're that type of player. Ryan Reeves type of player. You're physical. You're doing your job. You're mixing it up, banging bodies, hard in front of the nets. Sometimes things happen. And guys like Ryan Reeves and Rempe who play that way, and they're physical on the forecheck, and they're going to take the body. Sometimes the other guys take reaction to it, and they're willing to drop their gloves and fight. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I mean, there's other guys that they play the game hard, but they're not willing to do that side of things, and that's where I think fighting is. I mean, you go out and play hard and physical, and sometimes things happen and the gloves come off.
there's one guy that knows what he's talking about when it comes to that.
You have
That'd be
3,000
Craig Berube.
pins?
Yeah, I think he's up there. Getting close. Rempe's played one game so far this year. And it was played for 340.
Like, is
It's
that
the
the
Utah
best
Hockey
thing
Club.
for his development?
Yeah, no, I'm baffled because they put him in the spotlight last year.
Yeah.
And he was really effective. I mean, he's kind of he got temporarily tainted with the wave and not fighting that one particular time. But but I thought, man, he came up with big goals, big plays, and man, that was a cheap shot of Lyubushkin last year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a cheap shot, and he hurt Lyubushkin in that game against the Maple Leafs. So the only thing I will say about the fighting part, and you noticed it with the Couturier hit on Stuart Skinner, is like Craig, and I think it's different in 2024, that all that's fine, but you also have to be aware of the score. So there's like Sean Couturier, don't poke the bear.
Right.
Edmonton's done. Like you gave them, they're dying for that.
Yep.
You poke the bear, so there's a fight, and then Corey Perry starts a second fight, and you come back, and that's just the one.
Inject emotion into the game.
So that's just a little bit whether you're Rempe or whether you're Ryan Reeves. And Reeves, I mean, go play your game and see early in the game you can do that because generally if it's your first shift, okay, it's 0-0 and you get out of the way. Other times, if you're trying to make an impression, well, understand the score and understand the momentum and keep that as a factor.
I will say Rempe last year though, he was across the line. Like he was violent for a while there. A couple of Devils hits on guys who he seriously injured. Did he get suspended at least once? Like there was a lot of hits where it was like he's playing 7 minutes a game, and every night there's a highlight of should he get suspended or not.
Yeah.
I don't know how you help him find the line by playing 3 minutes and 50 seconds on the season.
340 on the season. Yep.
340 on the season. Like, is it so bad for him to play for the Hartford Wolfpack and play 60 games, and then 22 years old, he's ready?
Well, it's going to be a great question for Dave Maloney. He's going to join us later because that's the question. Okay, he's a throwback to an old era. Okay, and everyone said he's going to have to adapt or he ain't going to survive. But he continued to more than survive. He continued to thrive. So what's gone on this year within the sanctum? We don't know, the dressing room or whatever, that they've decided where last year they threw him out for the outdoor game. They threw him out in high profile situations that he's not playing now. So I'm curious what gives, because last year showed that he's a raw material. Yeah. But the way he played last year, there was a role for him in the NHL.
He's also now 6'9", so he's got to figure out how to coordinate those limbs because that's like NBA almost center.
He should play goal.
He played a bunch of playoff games too for that.
No, totally. Yeah. That's what I mean, Sam. That's when I kept thinking last year.
Who did they add
it's going to end. And no, he would be out there, and more often than not, he got a. It wasn't a goal, but he interfered to create a goal. And
I remember it.
Just a lot of different things.
Yeah.
They're always
on the fourth line wing, they have Adam Edstrom and Johnny Brodzinski.
Yeah, but he really that's a great,
Johnny Brodzinski.
Hell of a handle. But he took the league by storm. Like it's
more
not
than any player
overstating
has in years.
And people were
for
talking
that kind
about
of
him.
role.
Yeah. They're chanting his name at Madison Square Garden. It's crazy. Anyways, speaking of which, we'll probably take a break for Dave.
Okay. We have Dave Maloney from the MSG Network after this, former Rangers defenseman. We will talk to him about Saturday night, Rempe, Shesterkin, and much more. Join us after the break. Welcome back to Real Kyper and Bourne, joined by Gord Stellick today, which is a lovely change of pace. Not that, we don't love our Kyper Friday, but, Gord, nice to have you.
Yeah.
Different show.
A different show.
Kyper's doing like Johnny Carson and David Letterman now, like 4 days a week or something. Is that the deal? Like when you get really big?
He's negotiated, shortened work week. Shortly, we'll be joined by Dave Maloney from Madison Square Garden, or MSG Networks. To talk about the Rangers playing the Toronto Maple Leafs Saturday night. And the Rangers look like maybe the only team in the league that are as good as the Leafs so far. They're off to a really good start, Gord.
Yeah, they are. And you're right. As far as the creme of the Eastern Conference, it's interesting because there's been a lot of shifting with the Atlantic Division teams trying to stay up there, stay afloat. And then in the Metropolitan, with Carolina looking to go down, really the Rangers are the only team from there that people think is the kind of cinch to, for sure, be in the playoffs and make that run to get where they want to get and where the Leafs want to get.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to someone this morning who was saying that this Rangers team should win a cup. And it's interesting. Last year they win the President's Trophy. They have arguably the best goalie in the league. Maybe you like Hellebuck, maybe you like Swayman, but he's one of those guys. Do you think that guys like Panarin and Zibanejad and Kreider, older guys like that, have what it takes? Because they've kind of had the Leaf issue where Panarin has not been amazing in the postseason.
Well, no, you're right. Real good comparable. And it's been longer for the Leafs because the Rangers, well, maybe not. They had I don't know who the first was to send the letter to the fans, but the Rangers did that years ago and actually caught a lot of the players by surprise. It was around the trade deadline about doing the rebuild, the retool, and they never had drafted in the top three.
Is that right? Not all the players knew?
Well, no, because, we were talking to them. I remember trying one of them on the air. They weren't that thrilled. But then they never draft in the top three, and they get Lafreniere number 1 overall. Mm-hmm. They get Capo Caco number 2 overall, and now you got the expectations. And interesting,
2018 February 8th.
That was the letter.
That was the letter.
Wow.
February.
Okay.
And then they win the President's Trophy 5 years later.
Yeah, was it a letter or email? I wonder if you actually send a letter now.
No, it was a letter.
It was a media release.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll save you guys me trying to read it.
Yeah,
because it's never pretty when I try to read something. So.
But, that back end, K-Andre Miller, Adam Fox, Braden Schneider, Jacob Trouba, pretty solid. I mean, third pair, not sure about Zach Jones or Victor Mancini. But either way, this is a pretty loaded team. So the Leafs right now have a pretty solid lineup all throughout. We have a pretty good idea of where people are. One of the things that has been in question is Tavares as a second-line center or third-line center. I think, why don't we listen to Craig Berube, clip 5 here, get his take on the one line that's been a bit of a bugaboo here, the Holmberg, Tavares, Robertson line. Clip 5, please.
Well, I know it was a tough game, Johnny T, with, being sick and not skating much, but, that line's got some speed for sure on the wings. You got Holmberg, who's a versatile center wing, either position, so you got really 2 face-off guys in that line. And, you got 2 guys that are, really good down in their own zone defensively. So it's a good makeup of the line. I think that we haven't gotten the real makeup yet with Johnny being sick. And, Robbie's a worker. Robbie's got speed and he works. And Holmberg's a solid 2-way player. And Homer and I have talked. He's got to be better too. I think that he had a real good camp, and he's not happy with his last 2 games, and he'll be better.
The Holmberg thing's interesting to me because he hasn't been very good.
No, and what I found was, and I know you had when Brad Treliving did the car wash, right? Mm-hmm. He was on here too, right?
I don't know.
Okay, well, anyway.
We don't get anyone.
Well, anyway, he was doing the car wash where he did a lot of things except you guys.
Yeah.
And
he turned his back on real.
So you talked about Nick Robertson, you talked about asked about Pacioretty and that. He brought up Pontus Holmberg, which is interesting because if somebody brings it up, a coach or a general manager, that's a good sign. And boy, that first period against Pittsburgh, he couldn't, he's got a chance. John Tavares out. Oh, geez, Pontus Holmberg instead of Max Domi, being moved up. And first of all, he didn't shoot when he could. Like he had a myriad of things went awry in 20 minutes. He couldn't have had a worse 20 minutes.
He almost fell over on the penalty kill and he was spinning in a circle.
Oh, well, that one, he just flat out forgot what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like he forgot the penalty kill. That was the most glaring one. And I'm not just, he was noticed for all the wrong reasons.
Yes.
And then Domi comes out. Now, if Jenny Malkin making a terrible line change was a big reason they had the 2.5 to 0 breakaway. But Max Domi happens to get the first shift with that line and sets up Willie Nylander, and then you're off to the races. That changes things around, and Pontus Holberg's time on that second line is over. And good call by Craig Berube. Good call by the coaching staff about being a bench coach and deploying players, because that's a huge, huge part of coaching still.
It's funny, I tend to think of guys like Pontus Holmberg as like the very definition of interchangeable. He's fine. Like he can play wing, he can play center, but he doesn't. Not the fastest or the biggest or the best shot or anything. He's just a fine player. However, he is strong enough to be effective if he'll play the way. I think Berube is going to make a hockey player out of this guy in terms of 2-way. He said to get 2 face-off guys on that line. So win face-offs, kill penalties, be sort of a guy that then they can say, hey, is David Kampf expendable now? Can we maybe spend $800 instead of 2.4 for the guy who kills penalties and wins faceoffs? And that changes the dynamic of your team a little bit when you could free up some money heading towards the trade deadline.
Well, I think he's, we said, like Timothy Liljegren, he's kind of saying, you don't play my style, and whoever's going to play that has got to play my style, 5th and 6th D, okay? I think And the fact Treliving mentioned Holmberg means they've talked in that context, like you said, Justin, and meaning about, I believe this guy can play this way.
Mm-hmm.
I like this guy. He's got to play a certain way, though. He's got to just play the Berube, whatever it may be.
Him and McMahon.
And that's going to be the difference maker if we do it. So he got a chance to, go in the, as we say, the deep end of the pool. You got with the cool kids, and maybe he didn't play his guy. I don't know what it was, because he really did look out of sorts in just a short period of time. But obviously they believe in him.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I do believe that Berube is going to be able to help McMahon and help Holmberg take advantage of those tools, the strength, the size, the skating, all that stuff. Robertson's a curious one to me, because it's tough for me to believe that a Berube style game is going to help him, that he become more of a straight line, get it in. Like, I don't think that you got to be special when you're 5'10" or whatever Robertson is. You got to be a special player, and you need to have some lateral movement and vision and a shot and all that stuff. It hasn't looked like it did in the preseason. In the preseason, he was the Leafs' best player, arguably. And he is working and he's carrying the puck. He looks better. He looks more dynamic than he ever has in his previous seasons with the Leafs. But how long can it look like this, where he's just better and he's dynamic and he's carrying the puck? Or does he have to score? Or it's just not going to work here?
Well, when you're having team success, you can carry on the ride. I mean, there's no
totally
crisis.
agree. It's not even about him, right? It's about the group.
There's no crisis. I mean, it's a crisis for him, because if he's a healthy scratch or any other player, and how they fit in. And they can talk team all you want, but you watch your ice time and you watch all those other things, and that's
especially
really
when he's
important.
on a 1-year contract, looking for another one next year, right?
But I think, like in Craig Berube, and part of any coach is you have a certain style, but you also have to understand players play differently, and you've got to find a way for them to get the most out of a player. And I think that's where Nick Robertson, like you alluded to, Justin, about, he's he's not afraid of the fit, but he's not going to intimidate you physically. He's not the guy, like he's going to be speed and other things, and hopefully get some goals, and be that Nick Paul in the playoffs. Like somebody be the Nick Paul. It didn't have to be Kucherov or Braden Point for Tampa Bay. So someone be like Gary Volk did years ago, get a big goal for Toronto in the playoffs. Like anybody, and he's the one guy that possibly could do that. So I think there's an understanding that it's a different kind of style of play. And again, it's early, but you're right. I'd like to see. I pull for him all the time. I look how he battled through injuries and everything, and the sacrifice he made to stay here to rehab that year, and then got hurt again. And we're talking like Joe Woll almost about his propensity in the past to get hurt. So we'll see.
In the last couple games, like, he's getting playing time. Like, he played 14 against the Pittsburgh Penguins, 14-39 against the Kings. Like, that's up.
He's been pretty fine.
Yeah.
Just without the production.
It looks like a different human than it did in the preseason.
Yeah.
Where he was just undeniably great, shooting everything in the net. The puck was finding him in the sweet spot. I think it's good that they have the competition at the bottom of the lineup here now, because, a guy who scored 330 goals in the NHL, and Pacioretty, missed the game against the Kings and is on the outside looking in again here when they're practicing before the game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, this is what they've talked about from the start, with there being competition and there being options. Mm-hmm. And I think they tried it in the Keefe era, and they tried to say that, but I don't actually think
there was never any competition.
No, like, it just, you kind of knew
never
who you were
anyone
going to
out
play.
where you're like, you got to get him in.
Yeah, no, they like the line. There's not enough seats. It's like an airplane, and people are on standby. Like, there's the forwards, and not enough seats. And I guess since Austin Matthews finally scored a goal, we got to worry about other people now. Right? Because they all went under that when Austin hadn't scored. Everyone else was secondary.
I will confidently say that the game against Pittsburgh where he didn't score was the best game he's ever played where he didn't score a goal.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable in that game. He didn't score a goal.
But I do want then to kind of take this moment, and this is not a knock on my pal that I usually host with, but he is not always the most positive. Oh, I was supposed to give fans this like big dose of Leafs positivity. But we have our guest, so it'll never happen. We are now joined by Dave Maloney of MSG Network, former Rangers defenseman. Dave, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing well, actually. I parked out underneath the what is this? The lake shore we're underneath here?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a beautiful day here in Toronto. So I'm here with my brother and sister-in-law and my niece. So we're just kind of wandering around. So how are you guys doing?
We're good. Good to catch up with you, Dave. And we're trying to get the mystery of, Matt Rempe, the guy that they played in high-profile spots all last year, appeared to play well, and now isn't playing. So because we're wondering Ryan Reeves, Matt Rempe, then you go, geez, Matt Rempe hasn't played very much. And What's the reason as far as you see it?
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, the myth was bigger than, fact.
Right.
Last year. He exploded on the scene. And really, he didn't play a lot. I mean, there were an awful lot of things to be excited about. He's an interesting character. He's a big man. Obviously the physical stuff he got involved in right away. And he became a cult figure way, way, way ahead of his time. Now, he worked his behind off in the summer, and I thought he had a pretty good camp. And but again, Peter Laviolette, it's like a lot of teams carrying the extra forward. Does he deserve to be in the lineup? Could he be? Yes. But Laviolette has really always liked Johnny Brodzinski, and Brodzinski brings a little more speed, a little more, just kind of tenacious kind of presence. But that shouldn't be anything to take away from what Rempe hasn't done. I just think it's a fact that, and the other guy, Edstrom, has come in, and Edstrom's just a little smoother, a little better offensive player, a little stronger on his feet. He's a big, strong, he's got some offensive savvy to him. So it's, again, I think, Larry Brooks to the post, and there are people that would agree that, the impact of a guy like Rempe is going to become springtime, but you've got to somehow, if he's in your plans, you've got to figure out a way to get him minutes. That was my kind of observation over the summertime, was if indeed he was going to be part of it, you've got to figure out a way to get him minutes. And not being in the lineup doesn't help his development that way.
No, certainly not. But, that is a very good hockey team, New York Rangers hockey team that you've been covering for a while here. And so knowing they're playing the Leafs on Saturday night, I wonder if you could give us just a quick summation of their regular season to date. What have you seen out of this Rangers team to start the season?
Well, the thing that's most impressive to me is this team is deep. They have 12 forwards. Yeah. And both the opening game and last night in Detroit, now they staked themselves to a lead with their top guys. We start in goal with Shesterkin in Pittsburgh, and he holds the fort. Last night, they take a couple of penalties early. Quick makes the saves he has to make. They score, and then their depth is allowed to play. And that's, and it's funny, we talked to Rempe. The game he played in against was Utah. They were chasing the score. He couldn't get in the lineup. But when this team is cooking on all cylinders, they are deep. They are deep in the right positions, starting with goal. The difference may very well be, over the long run, is going to be Hedl, Kakko, and Cooley. You're getting into now 7, 8, and 9 in your lineup that can threaten you offensively, and you're not giving up an awful lot. So I just think, again, this is my 20th season doing this, and honestly, I think this is a really good team, and they're deep, and it might be the deepest team that I've seen over the time that I've been doing it.
So, Dave, what do Ranger fans say comparable to Leaf fans about the years of lack of playoff success? Like, the Leaf recipe's been the same. They basically, you lose the deciding game. I know they got eliminated by Florida in 5 games a couple of years ago, but they lose the Game 7. The big guns that score so plentifully in the regular season don't. Like, they didn't get more than 2 goals per game in the 7 against Boston last year. So how do you quantify what the fans are saying in New York now about, okay, we really like our team, but this is what's pissed us off in the playoffs year after year, and this is what needs to change?
Well, I'm not sure that it's what the fans say. From my observation, I think at the end of the day, you need to have a couple of top 6 guys that are going to chew somebody's arm off to make a play. And that intangible is really hard to find. Mm-hmm. When you look at Bennett, you look at Tkachuk, and the whole attitude that Florida comes with. So you can say, like, the Rangers' top 6. Listen, this is, you get to game 5, or whatever it was last year against Florida, but at the end of the day, it's just, do you have that intangible with the guys that are going to be playing 19 minutes, 22 minutes? It's one thing to say, okay, we'll bring in Ryan Reeves, we'll bring in Matt Rempe, we'll bring in these guys, but they're going to play, if they're playing at that time of the year, they're going to play 6 minutes. I just think you need every team, you go back 94, the Rangers, you had Mark Messier, right? You had Adam Graves. Guys that when push comes to shove, you look at those great Devil teams. Your top players, I think, and that's why it's so hard to win with everything else being equal. To me, those teams that eventually prevail have some snarl with the guys that are going to command most of the ice time.
Well, and Dave, to me, like you're talking about, Nathan McKinnon does that for Colorado. Mark Stone does it for Vegas. Like these are recent champions, and you do see that. So go ahead.
And how about Sid?
How about Sid? Yeah. I would chew your arm off.
How about Taves? These Kopitar. Are the guys, and Kopitar are the guys that when it comes down to it, and that's an intangible that's hard to find. And the teams that seem to find it with their top players, lots of times, to me, end up at least competing, if not winning, the finals.
Well, and so we're kind of talking about Artemi Panarin here. He is first in the NHL in scoring right now, 11 points, 5 goals, and 6 assists in 4 games played. I mean, exceptional start for him. But, it's sort of the same conversation we have here in Toronto when, Mitch Marner or Nylander or Matthews, they're not that guy either who are going to chew your arm off necessarily. So, is it a matter of filling in around those guys, or does it got to come from within a guy like Panarin or Zibanejad or whoever it may be? Lafreniere has some of that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He really does. And, he's young. He's got a bit of a snarl. Listen, and I say if it was that easy to find, every team would have it in their top players. Mm-hmm. It's just an intangible. You can't say, okay, I'm going to go on. And really, it's not to a discredit to any of those top players. That's just not in their makeup. Now, the other side of that, from a Rangers standpoint, the Rangers don't get to the success they've had in postseason without Artemi Panarin's regular season.
Right.
And it's the same with Lundqvist. The knock against Lundqvist was, well, he hasn't won a cup. Well, let me tell you something. They have no shot without Lundqvist during the regular season. So it's just, like I say, it's just not that easy to say, okay, we've got, it's funny. I was talking to a couple of guys who have won cups. Really, what does it take? There's just so many things that have to fall into place, let alone do you have that last intangible that is virtually impossible to find. Yeah. So to me, it's not a criticism of any of the elite players. It's just a bit of I think, a reality that one should consider when you're looking at that final thing that might be missing. And I've seen that with the Ranger team.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, we appreciate your time joining us on the show today. Enjoy the game tonight and have a great call.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. That was Dave Maloney of MSG Network, former New York Rangers defenseman, and the youngest ever Ranger to wear the C.
Yeah, well, and I'm older, so I remember him wearing the C, I believe, for the Kitchener Rangers.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. He was on the Kitchener Rangers, yes.
Ranger for life.
The Ranger for life. It seemed like the old sponsorship days, but no. And he's been doing it a long time, and solid D back in the John Davidson era and others they played. It's funny, the other comparable is Rangers Leafs. There's so many comparables.
Yeah, there are.
And the one was being asked about the Mitch Marner contract that he wants to park. So Igor Shesterkin said, you know what? I'm in the same situation. Let's talk about me.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Igor Shesterkin now, the last 10 days about, turning down $11 million a year apparently, has become a much more hot-button topic than anything about Mitch Marner's contract status.
Yeah. Well, either way, a lot of superstars in town. It's going to be a great game.
Oh, yeah.
Two of the best teams of the year so far, Saturday night. Join us then. We'll be back after this. We're going to talk with Luke Gazdic about the Edmonton Oilers and the rest of the teams in Canada. We will be back after this break. Welcome into Real Kyper and Bourne, the National Hour, live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365. Thank you to them as always. And thank you to Gord Stellick for joining us today in Kyper's spot. Gord?
Well, appreciate it. Kyper, a well-desered day off.
Yeah, we've been at it for 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, and you guys had a long,
he's
really
becoming a workaholic. So
short break in the summer. So
yeah, just coming back of a couple of months.
Wow. I mean, listen, back in the day, Kyper, to get him in here most days, he didn't work all the time before he left. Like, I remember there'd be lots of days that he wasn't on Hockey Central. So to get him in here every day, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
we get lots of Kyper time. Yeah, so we're going to be fortunate to talk to Luke Gazdic today, Sportsnet hockey analyst and former Oiler himself. Talk a little bit about this baby sweater behind me.
It's the funniest thing ever.
Why do we not have an adult size
I don't know.
Oilers
I was just
jersey?
texting my boss about it. But we'll hopefully get a few in here. But it looks really funny if you're watching on TV or YouTube.
If we did it by the amount of coverage the station gives per team, maybe the Leafs one might be a little bigger. But Gord, the Oilers off to a slow start, but have won a couple of hockey games since. Panic in the early going was a little bit overstated, a little bit overcooked, maybe.
Oh, big time. But the fans can do whatever they want, and some of the media can, and it's internally that they showed it last year. I mean, they made a coaching change, but they kept their composure and kept the context and turned things around of a really, really deep hole, which the Leafs did a number of years ago. They made the coaching change, but Sheldon Keefe took a team with a deep hole and helped get him in the playoffs that year. So the couple of wins they have, and I do want to talk to Luke about just that Couturier hit, because that's the way Luke played. And I think that was the best thing Edmonton was looking for, Couturier hitting the goaltender and getting a bit of a spark. So they've won twice. So the crisis goes to Colorado big time, Nashville a bit of one, or as well. Even Detroit a little bit. Everyone's talking about Joel Quenneville, not everyone, but Joel Quenneville going to Detroit. I mean, Steve Yzerman has been very supportive of his coaches, doesn't make changes, but those are the kind of, when a Joel Quenneville's on the sideline now, those are the kinds of rumors that come out pretty quick, and if you get off to a tough start.
Absolutely. And
Before we get to Luke.
Okay, yeah.
After we talk to Luke,
Yes.
we're going to do texts.
Ooh, I love text.
And we haven't done a lot of texts to start this year. So please text us 590-590. Send in your thoughts on Leafs, other stuff, maybe more national because we're in the national hour here. So all your thoughts about the NHL and Leafs and stuff. So text us 590-590. We'll get to those after Luke.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And now welcome in Luke Gazdic, Sportsnet analyst and friend of the show. Gaz, how you doing, pal?
Doing well, fellas. Thanks for having me. Bourne, you're looking good. Nice outfit. Always looking proper.
Yeah, thanks. This is the Yuppie Vineyard Vines U.S. collection.
Love it. Love it.
Gaz, I'm sorry that we have a little Oilers jersey to talk about your former team here today. It's kind of hilarious. But tell us what's going on with the Oilers. Are we not panicking anymore?
No, I think they're back on track. I mean, starting slow is status quo for this team, apparently. It drives pretty much everyone in hockey nuts watching them, to be honest. The first couple games were tough to watch. It is incredible how much, when Connor and Leon go, the team just kind of follows. The team just jumps on board. I saw that a lot last night in Nashville, even just one shift here and there. When Connor's feet start going and he starts buzzing around the ozone, you can see it just, it's kind of this infectious energy that emulates all the way down the bench and throughout the locker room. And I felt like last night in Nashville, they really used that to their advantage. But Gordo's right as well. I think there was finally a little bit of life at home Tuesday versus Philly. I didn't like seeing their goaltender get run over in a couple scraps, and there you go. That's kind of the life they needed. So that's what you need. I think they're out of panic zone right now, and it's good playing in that city. The more you go on losing or, starting rocky like they did last year, the city can get on you, whether it's the fans, media every day at practice and games. And so it's good that they ripped a couple off and hopefully at least get a point out of Dallas on Saturday before heading home.
Yeah, Luke, you played that style. That's what I was just saying about in Sean Couturier's case, that it's a natural instinct, but also when you got a 1-goal lead and you got a team that's not an opponent not showing much, the hesitancy to poke the bear and how much did that, like I think Chris Knobloch and everybody, Stan Bowman, everybody, thank God. And then, man, benching like the Draisaitl thing, I that took a lot of onions by Knobloch as well about, talk about that, I guess the respect to the coach and handling what could be a difficult thing with players, but it seemed to go well that Draisaitl understood why he missed a few shifts and the team appreciates that, hey, there's no sacred cows.
Yeah. First and foremost on the goalie stuff, I had so many goalies over the course of my career, whether it was in the minors or in the NHL, that absolutely just gave it to me in front of the net. How many times I was coming down on a forecheck and I wanted to put the shoulder through one of them too. I don't know. We're in an era now, and the game has certainly moved to a place where the goaltenders have a lot of respect in and around the crease, and there's not much you can do with them. I'm glad that a guy like Stetch went and took care of business. It's always something different. Fighting is one thing in the NHL these days. It's it's essentially, you know, it's just not as much as it was in the past. But when you see a guy that rarely does it to begin with, like Stetch, I think that always kind of breathes some life into your team as well. And on the Draisaitl benching, I think that's the first coach I've ever seen sit him down, even since he was a young kid. I was with Leon when he was a rookie, when he came into the league at 18. And man, I think I've talked to you about this before, Bourne, but he really struggled off the gate. Mm-hmm. Like he was playing second line center on a very much a team that was in a rebuild on the young side roster wise. And here he is in the Western Conference stacking up against Dustin Brown and Anze Kopitar and Ryan Getzlaf every single night. And whether it was in the faceoff circle, like, he had some tough times early in his career, but coaches for the most part, pretty much worked with him. And I think Tuesday was the first time where I've seen a coach in a third period in a big high pressure game not stack the lines and play him every other shift. Basically just said, take a seat, kid. And I don't know. I think if you're on the team or on the bench, you're kind of looking around going, that's accountability at the highest, right? That's your top guy setting an example. So I'm sure that's, you know, had something to do with them coming back. And Leon definitely didn't seem happy after the game. But hey, being a coach, like you're seeing here with Chief in Toronto, you have to make some unpopular decisions that time.
I hated getting scratched or benched and then going out and scoring or doing something great, and the coach just giving themselves a pat in the back for it. It's like rewarding them for treating you poorly. It's like, although it doesn't do you any good to go out and be terrible either. So you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place there as a player.
Yeah, 100%. And Gord, I was thinking about that too, what you were saying, you know, the role I played, like late in games, especially in Couturier's spot, you had to have such good sense for that type of thing, especially in my role on the fourth line, not going to play much to start, not a ton of special teams. I very much valued the ice time that I got. Took it for granted. I had to earn every shift. And especially as the game got hotter, if I'm still finishing checks in the O-zone, like I used to have some coaches pull me aside or whisper in the ear in the third period, hey, just relax here, big boy, like settle down a little bit. We don't want to put the team down. They're kind of sleeping right now. So that was always something you had to juggle. I wanted to bring energy to every shift. And sometimes you just kind of have to read the game and know when a team is down and out.
Yeah. So, you know, when they hadn't won any games, people are starting to look for things that were different about the team. And frankly, they're looking for things that were worse about the team. Are you concerned about the decor? And again, I know they've won a couple of hockey games. I know they still have most of their good players, but you know, you're talking about getting better at the margins to win a cup this year. Where are they on that decor, and can they find it from within?
It's a great question. And I don't want to say I'm too concerned. The only reason is because we're so early into the season. I think they'll end up figuring this thing out, but they've juggled the pairs around a lot. And I think this is where they've landed on now. I think they're going to play Stetcher with Nursey and then have Kulak and Emberson as their third pair. First pair, obviously, you're not touching. Like Ekholm's played some great hockey. Bush, yeah, people still screaming at their TVs every once in a while with a play he makes here and there. But the way he produces offensively, you're cheering for him most of the time. I thought Josh Brown was going to make a bigger impact at training camp, signed a 3-year, $3 million deal. He's down in Bakersfield right now. He brings a really tough physical element. And I just don't know if that's a situation when you talk about from within where training camp can be hard to show what you have. If you're a meat and potatoes 5'6" D-man or you're a depth forward, sometimes training camp can be hard to kind of show the scope of what you're going to bring to a team and to a locker room. You kind of, that role gets a little more fitting as you go and you have more games and more reps. So a guy like that I'm looking at in Bako, but I think this team is just primed to make a move at some point. Right-handed shot defenseman. Every team needs one. Like which team doesn't? But 3-4 right-handed shot D-man is something this team is probably going to go out there and pick up at some point in the future here.
So Luke, I'm going to go a little further west. You know, there's certain things that defy logic. I mean, you know, years ago, Scott Gomez, he didn't score for a calendar year or something. Remember that? You know,
Yeah.
And then last year, the Pittsburgh Penguin power play, which has been fine now, but it was something like 70 minutes. They couldn't score a power play goal. They played a man advantage for like a complete game, whatever. So what I don't get now is Elias Pettersson. Not just the stat. I guess what is it? One regular strength goal in his last 25 games or something like that. He doesn't look like Elias Pettersson. Like it's a strange one, and I know it's a repetitive question. But I want to get perspectives. I want to get perspectives from an ex-player like you. Like, why, never mind the stats, why does he look so different?
It's a good question, and I really like him as a hockey player. I have since he's come into the league from day one, but that version of the player that I loved was the guy that was reverse hitting guys in the corner while having puck possession and putting that, puck on one stick and leaning it and being a driver. You'll always hear coaches use the term driver, and I thought that he was the guy that could drive a line. I just think we've seen maybe a little less in terms of the energy he's bringing. And I don't know, he looks heavy to me. And that's what I see when I watch Vancouver games. But I also do think that he takes a lot of the brunt of the fault of everything that is Canucks hockey. Like if they lose, if they go through a bad stretch, if he goes through a bad stretch personally, he takes it pretty hard. But I still haven't seen flashes of that same younger player that, call it 3-4 years ago, just played with a little more edge than you see now.
Yeah, and he's such a big part of what the Canucks hope to be this season. Last year, they won the Pacific Division. They had a year that went great. A little bit of a slow start this year as well. What are your thoughts on, we're going to kind of bounce around Canada a little bit, but the Canucks were in one of the three teams, I would say, with Vancouver and Edmonton that people had high hopes for. What are your thoughts on them out of the gate so far?
Yeah, I think the thing that had to be driving talk nuts was not playing full 60s. You didn't really see them play a full game until Florida last night, till their overtime win in Florida, basically. I think in Tampa, that was a perfect example of it, where times you look and they're flying and they're playing good connected hockey, and then at times it's just poor execution, and we're talking just general passing skills and point shots hitting the net. I'm watching how many D are missing point shots from the top of the key, and I'm sure it had to be driving talk nuts. But last night was a little more positive moving forward. I thought they did great job on faceoffs. The depth started working for them late in the game. Quinn Hughes looked really good. This kid's not gonna be, obviously he's an absolute stud, but my goodness, every time I watch the Canucks, I'm reminded of how phenomenal he is ripping up and down the ice. And I think last night was the first time that they saw a full complete game. They play fast when they're going, like that's a fast hockey team. I think signing Jake DeBrusk helped with that. Danton Heinen, Kyper, Sherwood, that adds a lot of speed that they already had. They just got to get someone to save the pucks. Last night that was Lankinen, and see if him and Shelovs can do it while Demko's out.
Well, we always add it's early, but a lot of people don't care that it's early. They start making decisions. But you look at the Central Division, like so polarizing that Dallas, as expected, what a great start. Winnipeg may be a bit of a surprise. Utah was okay, whatever. So all of a sudden, if you're Nashville and Colorado, you got some ground to make up, right? Like a little more than you would think after 3, 4, 5 games. So Nashville, it's one thing. They got a lot of new players there. Colorado, I mean, you talk about abysmal. Never mind, it's, again, about losing, but how you're losing, the goal differential. We know they got some big holes due to, being in the player assistance program, injuries and what have you. But something's going to have to give there? Are they going to be able to work it out? Do they need to trade for a goaltender? What do you need to do? This is a hole that could become really deep in a hell of a hurry.
Yeah, and they're playing with 2 strikes already. They are thin, and they're not getting saves. Like, in the league today, if you're not going to get consistent saves from your goaltender and an above-average performance every night, you're probably not going to get a win, and that's just the honest truth. Friedge was talking about the possibility of maybe a John Gibson if he can stay healthy. I'm sure Lucas Dostal's ready to take over the show in Anaheim with a young team there. Mm-hmm. They're probably looking to get rid of a guy like that, but it's to me, I hate scapegoating goalies. I hate it. I don't want to come on here and tell you, but it's just time and time again when Georgiev's I think he got pulled 2 nights in a row, let in 3 or 4 on this next one. Like, it's been a gong show in the crease. So at some point that's got to give. And the guy like Nate's not going to sit around for too long if this continues, because this isn't a new thing, right? Like, in between the pipes for them has been kind of a mess for the last couple of years. And so that's where I kind of would see them heading in that direction, picking maybe a starter like Gibson up.
Mm-hmm. You played enough hockey to have been a part of good teams and bad teams. And I want to ask you about the Flames and that. Do you believe that early season momentum, it can be translated throughout the calendar? Or is it something that inevitably your talent level catches up? Like, I've always kind of felt like how things go sets a lot of the tone and the mood and the the culture for the team, and it can really help long term. Do you think that it can make a difference, or it just snaps back to reality at some point?
Well, there is 100%. There's going to be some sort of coming down period. But what I will say about Calgary and the Flames is I had the chance to play a full year for Ryan Huska in the minors. And what's happening there is no joke. He is one of the best communicators and development of players and people that I got to play for and spend some time with. It was a full year with the Stockton Heat in the minors. So it was only a matter of time before this team was bound to have success, just because I've played for a lot of coaches over the years, and he was certainly one of my favorites. And just the way he approaches the day-to-day, the respect he shows for the leadership group on the team, just even logistically, how he runs his club. I really enjoyed my year playing for him. So I do think that there's a huge element to that. The team's younger. They come flying in. I did do a 1 year of training camp in Calgary. That is not an easy training camp. The fitness testing, there's a couple of things there that the guys have to be really geared up for. So I think that's a huge thing, is their conditioning is unbelievable. After a while here in the Western Conference, especially in their division, I think you'll start to see them settle down just a little bit as we move on here, whether it's injuries, whether it's just figuring out the longevity of the league and playing against some of these guys who have been in the league doing it for years. But it's certainly a positive and fun, exciting story. Like, listen, hockey is better for us and everybody else when Canadian teams are doing good. So it's good for the Battle of Alberta. It's good for hockey. It's good for everything.
So, Luke, unlike a lot of people, when they set up, they're promoting everything in the background, right? They got their books and everything. So you got kind of a Spartan setup there, which I respect. So don't take it the wrong way. I just want to confirm we did not interrupt you getting interrogated at a police station, correct? Can we confirm that?
Okay, I have no idea what's going on with this Zoom lighting. I'm just going to blame Sam McKee. Is like the producer over there.
Good job.
I only have two photos in here. One is a laser of Toronto, and the other is Kawhi hitting the famous shot. So this is like super Toronto room. There's a couple books here, but I don't know. I'm figuring this thing out as we go, doing hits, and I don't know. I've changed locations a couple times, so no, I'm not being interrogated.
Okay, good.
Well, I stay out of trouble.
So then about trouble in the Atlantic Division, since Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit, same question. Still no answer. Still unclear. Like, what's 5-6 games into the season? Like, about if one team's going to knock on the door, which one, or do you think 1, 2, or possibly all three could, and which has the best chance of kicking it down? Because right now, it's the same story what the last 5 years.
Yeah, my heart says Buffalo. I'm a Sabres guy. Soft spot for them in my heart in the city of Buffalo. It's just time and time again, you're watching this team trip over itself. The most intriguing one for me is the Sens. We're covering that tomorrow. Me and Jen Botterill and David Amber will be in the open and intermissions for you doing that. I was listening to the Valquette interview the other day, Bourne, when you and Kyper were talking when you went deep in the valley. Yeah. And that was one of the most fascinating conversations I've ever heard. And the stuff he said about Allmark was news to me. Mm-hmm. And I really haven't been able to think the same since then. I'm pumping your show. Like, if you guys haven't listened to it, go back and check it out.
Yeah,
but
thanks.
It's just about, it was more so like, what's going on with this guy? Like, here he goes, signs a 4-year deal. They put all their eggs in one basket, and, we haven't even got to see him play hockey yet. So really the only problem for me in Ottawa is stopping pucks. Their power play is absolutely buzzing right now. That first unit with Batherson and Norris, Sanderson, Kachuk, Stützle, I think they're 38% right now. So fun to watch. They just got to have someone to get some saves back there. The blue line's coming along. And man, I mentioned Battle of Alberta. I would love to see some more, competitive hockey with Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa here going toe-to-toe for the majority of this year. And I think Ottawa has the potential to do that.
Joined with Luke Gazdic. Just one more for you from me, Luke. I don't know if Gord's got another or not, but I have one more. And you would have been a player who played around the goaltender's blue paint. And there's a lot of goalie interference calls right now, a lot of confusion about it. Do you feel like goaltenders are just soft and just need to really just be hockey players a little bit, or do you like all the way the calls are going?
Well, it's like we've put all these rules in the game to increase offense, increase the speed of it, regulations on goalies' equipment. Like, we want to see more goals. We want to see more scoring. So who wants to see a game stop 2-3 times a game and do a 5 to 10 minute review to find out if a goal that you have to go chop frame by frame to see if something breezed by there is a goal. I just think if it's that close, we should be leaning towards goal side. Like we shouldn't be leaning towards calling so many of these things back. And I think goalies get way too much respect. I'm sure some people out there probably wouldn't love. I'm sure Kelly Rudy won't love this, but like I think especially with a couple in Edmonton, a couple of the recent ones in Edmonton, Corey Perry's one, it's like, what are we doing here? Don't we want to see guys score? Should we really be breaking these things down at micro zoom to try to call it back in some way? So I don't know. I'll probably get in more trouble if I keep going, but I think you can imagine how I feel watching games.
No, it's great. I'm anti-goalie, and I fight people online about it all the time. Just they're too soft. Anyway,
exactly.
Thanks for joining us, Gaz. Appreciate it. You're on TV tomorrow night, Hockey Night in Canada?
No, just a day. So we have a crew doing the Tampa Bay Ottawa one, and then we have a regional to national with me and David, Edmonton, Dallas, and then the A team will take over.
Awesome. Well, you're doing great work. We appreciate your time on our show. Thanks for joining us, pal.
Thanks, fellas. Have a great weekend.
You too. Luke Gazdic, Sportsnet hockey analyst. Former NHL.
So taking on goaltenders, there's such a disproportionate number of catchers and goaltenders that are broadcasters, analysts.
Yes.
And someone said that they see the game differently, that when they have to look behind, it's bad. So a catcher in baseball, if he's looking back, that's bad. Right. A goalie, we know that's bad. But there are so many goaltenders that are analysts. So when you take on the goaltending fraternity, it's not just Kelly Rudy.
No.
There's a whack of them that are going to come at you whole hog.
Oh, I know. It's fantastic. I've really enjoyed having this waging the war. But it is, unique the way that you see the game from a different perspective as a goaltender. And so I get why there is a volume of them.
I mean, I'll go back to my take the other day. I mean, they have the most equipment on. Like they should be out there playing the game of hockey.
Yeah.
If a guy just taps them on the way by or they're in the vicinity, I agree with Gaz. Like that Corey Perry one was absurd. Like that's the one that keeps sticking in my mind. And I know Kyper said it's because it's Corey Perry, but I hate them calling these back. And so the review, like it's such a momentum game. It's so fast and it's so great. And it's just like, there's so little breaks in the action. When you're sitting there and you're excited to watch a game and they're reviewing, like a touch for 3.5 minutes.
That's the NFL for me now. Here? Every reception, I'm like, does that count? Does that stand?
It's such a great parallel. Yeah. What a catch is in the NFL and what a goaltender interference is. It's great.
It is funny. So one is we have the technology, so about getting it right. And again, there's a whole other discussion. One of the things I think is if you don't see it in the first 2 minutes, then forget it. It don't take 6 minutes. Okay, whatever. So, but the other one about goaltenders and quarterbacks, I mean, it's predicated on a good thing that, particularly with the money making now, don't want to get them injured, right? Needless injury. So, because and it wasn't just guys like Luke Gazdic. Craig Simpson, also a analyst, man, he was great at crashing the net. Back then it was like, whatever, you could make a look and, they were kind of fair game. So they changed all that. And I agree with that. But the other part, and Brian Burke always has a great line, because he loves the physicality.
Yes, he does.
He loves the physicality. But he also, but certain games, as he said, becomes flag football. And that's where you don't want that tipping point, right? You don't ever want it to be flag football. So, again, the Corey Perry, that's not really a flag football comparable, but that was one of those you're kind of going, and they come up with an explanation. They're good at explanations. I got to say, every time I hear an explanation, I kind of go,
it's almost like they're all lawyers.
Yeah.
You're so right about that. Yeah. Their explanations are excellent.
Yeah. Can you talk to Lisa why I don't clean up and why I don't do your lawn work and stuff? Because it really sounds good coming from you. I don't sound too good when I bail on it. But
that's funny.
Yeah, that's it's going to be an ongoing topic, right?
It is. It absolutely is. Do you want to go to break first?
Yeah, we'll go to break and then we'll come back, do game time, and then I got a bunch of texts.
And a reminder, just text 59590, some text scored. Me and Sam going to chew those up.
Already got a bunch, but keep texting them in because we got lots of time. So keep texting.
Right. Well, thanks, Luke Gazdic, and we will be right back after this. Welcome back to Real Kyper and Bourne. Did I not hold for TV? Was I supposed to hold for TV? We're back on TV. That's good. Hi, TV. Real Kyper and Bourne. This hour of Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365, even though it's Gord Stellick and Bourne today. So
we're on TV?
Yeah.
What?
I know. Fancy, right?
That's right. I mean, he didn't put on that jacket for no reason.
Yeah,
I knew we were on TV. Yeah. The worst is when you get caught the other way. I've had that once or twice.
I look like I get caught every day.
That's true. Yeah.
I still haven't worked up the courage to wear a hat on here. And you wear hats all the time.
Once a week.
Yeah.
I usually try to keep it once a week.
But yeah, you got some business
Game
to
time?
take care of. Yeah.
All right. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365 with the 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Game I was looking at for tonight. I think there's only 3 games on the schedule, but Carolina is in Pittsburgh to take on the Pittsburgh Penguins, who had a pretty good start to the year here. They've been a little bit up and down, but they just had that exciting win over the Sabres. 6-5, I think it was in overtime.
Yeah.
They are a plus 145 underdog on home ice. Carolina's a minus 170 favorite. You know what? I'm buying what the Pittsburgh Penguins are selling. I'm getting excited about watching Sid and Evgeny Malkin. So give me as an underdog shot the Pittsburgh Penguins at plus 145. And here's what I'll say:
Love
the
this next one.
Colorado Avalanche are in Anaheim. I think they're in Anaheim tonight to take on the Anaheim Ducks. Nathan McKinnon, 3 points tonight is plus 185. I don't think that he's going to let them lose to the Ducks. And if they do lose, he's going to score a lot, and Gorgiev's going to let a lot in. So,
4-0 Avalanche.
Yeah.
McKinnon going into a soft team is
Yeah.
going to be hungry.
so I would give me the Nathan McKinnon 3 points plus 185, and I will not be picking the Mets today on game time. They've let me down. They're playing right now. I think it's 0-0 still. They're playing right now. I will not be picking the Mets because the last 2 nights they've let me down. But oh my God, did you guys watch that baseball game last night?
No, but I saw a guy
Oh, my
baseballed one
Lord.
after over the far wall right at the right time.
Oh, it was there was a lot of baseballs flying over the wall at the right time. Big Christmas. Jinkenzie Noel, one of the best names.
Jin Kenzie.
His name's Jinkenzie Noel. Big Christmas is the nickname. It was one of the best baseball.
It's amazing.
It's one of the best baseball games I've watched ever. So it was amazing. And that was game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. It's 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
What's the best nickname of a hockey player you're aware of there, Gord?
Oh, well, I don't think he embraced it. Red Light Rossico. I did,
Oh, yeah.
which is
He
not good
embraced
for
it. Probably
a
not.
goaltender. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I like the ones like Tiger for Tiger Woods, like they're real
Yeah.
nicknames.
Yeah.
You know, Clark Gillies Jethro was pretty good.
That's
right,
a good
Gordon?
one, yeah.
You know, I just hate Schmully and Samsies and Justinsies. And, you know,
How
Justies?
many, how many
I'm trying
Smitties is there in the
Yeah.
league?
Oh, my God.
yeah, I just like well. Back Mad Dog Kelly and Battleship Kelly, Bob Kellys. That's how you go. Dave the Hammer Schultz. I mean, what? When did we lose thought about what's a good nickname? You know, because
We've lost thought in general, Gord.
yeah.
That's why guys like me are here.
So-
It's just no thought anymore.
So it's true. Like, what's the best nickname in hockey right now?
Sid the Kid.
That's no.
Kid.
It was a great nickname for a long time, Sid the Kid.
I'll give you that.
You don't think so?
I mean, it's fine. It rhymes with Sid. That was
Yeah,
why
but I
he
thought it
had
was but like he was referred to that
Yeah.
forever.
Forever.
No, but come on.
Yeah,
Gotta come
but-
up like with a handle.
But now
you
I'm trying
know?
to think of one like Ovi is a great nickname.
That sucks.
Russian
It's
machine?
Ovi. It's the same thing.
Ovi. It's
No,
good. Like that's
shortening
it's
his name.
Yeah, but no, it's not. Ovechkin.
Oh man, you're terrible at this game.
Ovi and Sid the
suck.
Kids are two of the icon. I mean, the great one's pretty good.
Yeah.
Here's my nickname for you. You suck
Yeah.
at this game.
Felix the
the
cat.
nickname.
Felix the cat.
The cat was good. I mean, it was an
That's
obvious
that
one
was-
for Felix.
that
You
was-
just called him Cat. Was
yeah.
kind of a cool handle, cool moniker.
Derek just buzzed down in my ears. Like I can't even take credit for that. That was Derek Brandale.
All right. Well, text in some of your great nicknames.
Yeah. And
But now,
yeah,
are we ready for some text? I love text. Text is a great part of the show.
But then Sam was pleading for more.
Yeah.
Like it made it sound like we have content to fill. Like please, like a telethon. Please send us more texts.
I love the text.
I like
There is a
text, too.
current nickname, Justin Kirkland in the NHL.
Oh.
And this comes from somebody in Calgary. They just said
Right.
Calgary. His nickname's Costco.
Kirkland. It is
Perfect.
absolutely phenomenal.
There we go. Exactly. I know there's other ones.
Wi-Fi.
Oh, Wi-Fi.
There we go. See, now
Actually,
we're-
that's the best nickname
Now,
in the NHL.
now this is exactly what we wanted.
And if
Perfect.
you don't know, Arbor Jackey's last name is just an amalgamation of random letters on its face. It's tough to see, and so it looks like a Wi-Fi password,
Yeah.
which is why that's his.
Okay, this one's from Alex and Whitby. And I don't know, Gordo, if you're going to allow this one. You might get mad about this one. But pasta for Pasternak? Is it just shortening the name?
I'll give it a 60, like my final calculus mark when I took it a second time.
There's a lot coming in here now.
We need Ken Reed on this because those boys out in the East Coast, they're old Teapot and the boys. A shout out to Weasel, who I spent some time with on the Rock when I was there.
The last two I will say before we're getting a million of these.
Okay.
But Breadman for Artemi Panarin.
Very good.
That's good.
Very good.
Yep.
And what about McJesus?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's a 60. That's a 60. I get the Breadman a 90.
Breadman's very good. He should have a sponsorship.
Moose for Messier is pretty good too.
I like that.
70.
I like Moose.
Give it a
Moose-
70.
No, Moose is good.
All right. This is for Bourne. Not for you, Gordo. Sorry.
Okay.
Coming to you from Nelson, BC,
Oh, what's up?
home of the Junior A Nelson Leafs. Bourne, I'm curious if you've ever played in the KIJHL or the BCHL. Love listening to you guys every day here in BC.
Yeah.
Go Leafs, go.
Yeah. I led the KIJHL in scoring, or my conference. I think I was second in the league to Andrew Ebbett, who went on to have a great career. So I played for the Soyuz Heat, and then Vernon Vipers, BCHL champs, no big deal.
Wow.
All my hockey was in BC until it wasn't. So no, great leagues. I still talk to the marketing guy of the KIJHL,
Really?
Kootenai International Junior Hockey League. It was a great league. All the small towns in BC.
What was the Vernon Vipers' biggest rival?
The Penticton, well, now they're the Vs. They're the Penticton Panthers when I was playing there, but Vernon Penticton is a pretty good Okanagan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What is it to be mad about in that part of the world?
Although I will say,
it's so nice.
we played the Chilliwack Chiefs back-to-back years in the final, and Chilliwack's arena, for those people who have been to that part of the world, was boards up to normal board height, and then boards, and then glass.
What?
It was the concussion dome, and it was not regulation size. Terrifying arena to play in. That would qualify as a rival, but that's probably the most afraid I've ever been to play hockey.
So the year Austin Matthews got picked first overall, the draft was in Buffalo, and it was a rock concert when he got picked. But then, following the rest of the draft, what struck me that year? How many BCHL players were picked?
Yeah,
remember that? Like I don't know if it's been commensurate since then, but that really got my awareness. Like, wow, there was quantity and there was quality. They were a whack of them.
A really great league, and I actually think there's been they've joined forces with the AJHL. Some of the A teams have, for whatever reason, I think it's related to ages and scholarships.
There's nothing that really I love, like intricacies, which is a hard word to say, of like different junior hockey barns.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
It's the
Like
best.
it always kills me. Like Peterborough, where the Petes play, it's almost like a square. Like the corners are squared off. Remember, Savvy used to tell us about the games he would go in there and play. Mark Savard, who's now the power play coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
He's assistant coach.
Yeah. We did the Leafs Nation post game with him for many years, and he said that because he was a very good junior player, he's a very good hockey player. He would just throw it off the corners and then beat the defenseman. He named the two guys that he just used to beat like a drum. He said he'd throw it in the corner and go around them because it was bounced right out into the middle of the slot.
I'm going to tack on a quick junior hockey story.
Yes.
So we played Chilliwack 2 years in a row in the final. The first year, so they had a mascot, which is not appropriate anymore. Old Chief Wanawin is gone. Right. But he used to play the big drum during timeouts, just bong, bong, this big thing right behind the bench. He got tickets behind our bench in Vernon for playoffs. So he's not wearing the big head anymore. He's just got the big drum. Like the guy came. And so our coach goes down the bench, says something to our trainer, whatever, calls a timeout. We're losing it's 2-2 in the finals. Like it's game 5. Calls timeout. We all come in, and he starts at the drum. And our trainer reaches over the glass and gets a piece of then Chief Wanawin and climbs the glass. And I mean, old Chief Wanawin had a tough night. And I mean, the police had our trainer out of there. There's a song. So we're listening to our coach like it's the finals. Like this is a big moment. And there's a whole slap shot scene happening right behind him while he's got the whiteboard. Junior hockey.
That's incredible. What was the name of the oh my God, the
Harvey
tongue.
the Hound?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for saving me. Where he pulled the tongue out of the mascot's mouth when it was coming down over the thing, and Craig McTavish grabbed it and pulled it off. It was incredible.
Right, and I think someone signed it at some point. It ended up as a gift. Did I see it at Daryl Sutter's place? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, it's somewhere.
Okay. The Calgary Flames are off to a great start. All 4 lines are firing on all cylinders. Their defense are big, and the goalies are playing great. Can they continue at this level? Mike from Calgary. And in our lineup here, Frank Saravelli is reporting that the Flames are looking to add a middle 6 center that fits their age group and preferably shoots right-handed. So very specific. Right. But they're actually looking to add. So some Calgary Flames talk here. It's nice to see him start.
I forget who talked about it. The assumption they're having another fire sale on top of the fire sale, and then Craig Conroy said, "No, you only have one fire sale, okay?" Right. And we had it last year, and we had to switch gears in the early part of the season. So that was a transition that you did something different than you didn't think you're going to do the start of the season. So now You're able to look at you. You're able to say, "Hey, Anthony Mantha, let's see how you fit here.
Yep.
Let's do all these things. We're going to try a kid in goal. So far, so good." So to answer your question, I'll say yes. In that every year, to me, there's one team in each conference that surprises, right, or at least one. And they had the foundation of a certain good thing, and then when Daryl Sutter went, changed, and they had to make the changes with God rest his soul, Johnny Goodrow leaving and the Kachuk trade and all these. So I think they're back to a good place. That it's not a total teardown. Mackenzie Weegar saying, "I want to be here." That's, you love hearing that. And if you get Huberto going, that's a big if. But if you all these kinds of things, Justin, and I don't know what the upside is.
Yeah.
But I've been bullish on the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, and I think when you think of teams that do these sort of rebuilds, and it's like you look at Buffalo for 11 years now or whatever it's been, and Detroit and Chicago, and they strip it all the way down. You look at this Calgary Flames team. Blake Coleman, great veteran in the league, who's won a cup. Mikhail Backlund, Jonathan Huberdeau, Nazem Kadri, Mackenzie Weegar, who you mentioned, Barry's there, Rasmus Anderson. There's a lot of guys who played a lot of hockey in the league. That is not your typical rebuild team.
Yeah.
They're not going to make the playoffs.
No?
No.
I think I saw a stat.
Well, I'm not writing them off. And also,
80% of teams that start 4-0, I think I saw make the playoffs. I think that's the number I saw.
And
they're going to be in the 20.
I know people
in
are.
the 20.
Yeah.
I had someone.
Thanks, buddy.
I had someone write me your recent article titled "Which Fast Starters Are for Real This Season is Disrespectful to the Flames player, staff, and organization." Because I said, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
Okay.
And I hold strong on that. They're off to a great start, and that's lovely. But 4 games here. Let's.
I don't know the person said
Great
it tongue in cheek there, but you never say stop being disrespectful. That's the part.
No.
It's funny how people take it. No, I mean, that's part of why I don't like doing predictions.
Yeah.
I don't like them because you hear, "Oh, yeah, well, I had to do a prediction."
Right.
Okay, I want to watch the game. I like the game. Let the game play out and let me find out. I don't want to do a prediction. Whatever. You got to write these columns,
You look like a jerk as an analyst if you say everyone's wonderful all the time, and then sometimes teams aren't wonderful.
Yeah.
So there's some good players there, and they'll be competitive, but the Canucks are a very good team still. The Oilers are a very good team still. Vegas is still very good. It's a tough division. The Kings are very good.
And
but I've not written them off because that would be disrespectful.
but if you get to the deadline and they're still competing and people are offering them tons for their guys, it's like, wow, they're probably going to be listening hard.
They're not
right?
going to win the Stanley Cup, so they're more likely to be sellers than buyers. Incidentally, that's why I picked Pittsburgh to make the playoffs, not because I think they're better than the Flames today per se, but because when they get there in March, they're far more likely to be buyers.
Yep.
You got to win while you have Sid and while you have Malkin and Carlson and all those guys.
Big Blackhawks fan here. I'm very excited from what I've seen for the first 5 games of the season. Do you think they have a chance to at least make it interesting for a playoff push if the team can stay healthy?
No.
He gave you.
Stop being so disrespectful.
No, but he gave you a word. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a different word, right?
Yes.
That's the word you can play with a little bit. I agree. No. I think, you look back last year, what were we talking about this very day? Connor Bedard. First 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And they, so much so, the veteran Blackhawk player said, we got to pull this kid in. Too much stuff. And they kind of go, will you chill? Because it's going to get to where it is now. That all of a sudden we're talking about a million other things. And Connor Bedard looks like, he's whatever the real deal is, he's going to be that. But yeah, I would, you got to grow, right, though, Sam? They got to play better. What a horrible year they had last year. They played a lot of horrible, they got to play more. They got to play more, better hockey. I know that's not perfect English, but that's how you start moving forward.
This is a very weird team.
It is a weird team. It's the strangest team. They're like the 5th oldest in the league because of these weird names.
Yeah.
But this reminds me of the conversation where someone says, "Oh, Artemi Panarin, top 10 guy in the league. He's a top 10 guy or whatever." And then you get out a pen and paper and you start writing the top 10 guys, and you're like, "Oh, he's the 24th best player in the league." Like, he's not even close. And so for me, it's okay. Is Chicago going to be in the playoff hunt? Okay, Dallas is hard in, right? Yeah. You like Utah this year? Thinks Utah's probably better.
I do like Utah.
That's a bad injury, Sean Dursey.
Yeah.
Him and Sergachev are playing almost 30 minutes a game. So, I mean, but I do like them.
Okay, so Dallas is in, Utah's a maybe. The Winnipeg Jets had 110 points last year and are off to a 3-0 start. So the Jets are probably in. Wild are 2-0-2. They're pretty good. Nashville Predators made a bunch of moves to get better. They're pretty good. Haven't mentioned the Colorado Avalanche. I know they had a slow start, but, who do you think is going to finish higher, Colorado or Chicago? There's just other teams.
Yeah, it's a good division.
You can't write off St. Louis.
No, and I didn't even mention St. Louis. Yeah. You're right. So for me, it's not, is Chicago bad or whatever. It's everyone else is good.
Yeah, and this next question is, why do you always admit the Jets when talking about other Canadian teams? I guess we always admit the Jets, boys. I don't know if we do that or not.
I picked them. I
Omit the Jets?
Yeah, that's what I said, right?
Oh, I don't know. I thought you said admit.
No,
I said
omit.
admit the Jets.
Oh, did I? Maybe I did. Omit the Jets. Why don't you talk about the Jets?
I picked them to win the Stanley Cup a couple years ago. I've always picked them to go deeper than they actually did, including beating Colorado last year, which they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And you know what, Justin? Last year, like, you think about the guys that have committed to the Jets, like when Hellebuck and Scheifele did it.
Yeah.
You know, because that was always since Bufflin, since other things, Trouba, like, oh, who wants to leave? Pierre-Luc Dubois. And then that's a negative, right? That you always someone, and all of a sudden these guys committed. And then they played that hockey where they didn't give up more than 2 goals for a phenomenal number of games. And then they bleeped the bed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I don't. If you retreat, so you think they're going to make the playoffs? I think there are certain. I used to say they were going to, so I've got them certainly one of those being considered to make the playoffs. I don't have them as a lead pipe cinch.
Yep. No, I'm with you. Preseason I had them as a sort of fringe playoff team, but you know what concerned me was last year they had 110 points, but they were so good defensively, right? They gave up
the playoffs.
199 goals, was I think tied for first with Florida, or maybe one behind Florida for best in the NHL. I wasn't sure they were going to be able to replicate that without Monahan and without Toffoli, and I can't even remember, but I feel like they lost a handful of guys. And they have been. They've given up 2 goals in 3 games. Their goaltender has been fantastic. And if team defense is still there, you know, Perfetti can take a step. Connor scores. Ehlers can score. You know, Scheifele's obviously still there. Velarde, they have enough guys that they can score. So I'm pro Winnipeg now.
Yeah, that's nice to hear.
Yeah,
there you go. You don't omit them anymore.
A bit of positivity after being mean to Calgary and Chicago.
That's good. This is very good. I want to make sure this qualifies as national question, not Leaf-centric. Now that the Toronto Maple Leafs have established their ultimate superiority by finally adding the pieces they needed through defense and coaching, do you think the rest of the nation quakes in their boots at the thought of playing them, or are they more in awe of the talent and consider it an honor to share the ice with them? That's from Ryan, the parade planner.
That's the best text we've ever got.
That's good. Like, set it up and then just deliver the hammer, right?
Ryan, the parade planner, is an incredible sign off on that.
Are they the best team in Canada this year? Is it?
Well,
is
all I can tell you
Oilers
is when I worked for them, they weren't among the better teams
Yeah.
most years. And going across Canada, it gave everyone great joy. First of all, phenomenal number of Leaf fans, unparalleled. Even back then, now people travel everywhere. It's not a novelty, but back then there'd be more Leaf fans everywhere else, which then pissed the hometown fans off even more. So they took incredible joy, even if it was a weak Leaf team and the Oilers and Flames were really strong then. They still took incredibly joy kicking the crap out of them if they could. So they still take that kind of joy. There's more bite to that than in a lot of other markets, but I don't know if they're quaking in their boots, but. The thing is, the Leafs aren't far from being what Chicago was when they would come to town, but they were winning cups.
Yeah.
But when they came to your town, and out west they're only coming once, like Chicago only came once here.
Right.
But it was really neat to see because you said, "Wow, this is a whole different level, right?" And you want to be that team. And maybe Florida's that team now. I don't know. Edmonton can be that team, but Toronto can be that team. Yeah. But you got, and regular season wise, but you got to have the playoffs.
A text from Brad in Calgary says, "I'm turning the radio off after that text." So Ryan, the parade planner, he got inside that guy's head. A few more nicknames, boys. Stumpy Thomas.
That's not bad. I like Stevie. Yeah.
The Russian Rocket.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
Just okay.
Oh, it's good. Okay. I'll give this a good one. Yeah.
Dave the Hammer Schultz.
Yeah, I was mentioned that. All those Flyers, like Dave, what do they call? What was Don Selesky called? He had a nickname. I can't remember. But they all, like I said, Battleship Kelly, Mad Dog Kelly, and
Derek Brandeo in my ear did volunteer a good one. Vlasic was Pickles.
Yeah,
Marco
that was good.
But that's like anybody whose last name's Campbell is Soupy.
Yeah.
right? Like I think that's a classic one. When
There's
Jack
only one
Campbell,
Vlasic.
who was
There's a
here-
lot of Campbells in the phone book. There's not many Vlasics.
Yeah. Showtime for Patrick Kane.
Yeah, Showtime's great. Showtime is a little bit for me like, and this is touchy now, but was like Black Mamba was for Kobe.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no one called him that.
No,
You know, like kind of gave it to himself, you know, and was like, I'm the Black Mamba. I was like, no one, not really, you know, like, I don't know anyone until like almost late career Kane that was referring to Kane as Showtime.
And like he'd score a goal and he'd be like, Showtime.
Yeah. Like he kind of was like, kind of gave it to himself. So that might be.
I don't think Ken Linseman liked being called the Rat, but that was the Rat for Kenny Linseman.
We did get that as a submission. How about Mr. Game 7 for Justin Williams?
Yeah.
I mean,
that one though you don't get during your career. It's like career's got to be almost over.
It's kind of a statement.
I can't
more than nickname.
Right.
I honestly can't imagine having a better nickname than Mr. Game 7.
His numbers in Game 7.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Someone should just say or call themselves Mr. Game 3 and let people go figure it out. Go, what the? Well, check my Game 3s. Okay, I don't know.
Guys in Toronto.
Mr. Game 3. That's right.
That's too bad.
We got any other
like Austin Matthews? They don't. Do they call him Cactus at all? Like
Pappy.
I like Cactus better. Pappy's not bad.
Big
Pappy
Cactus?
or Cactus or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what they call. Anyway,
Pappy's good,
not
but
bad.
something cactus related would be great. But it's kind of just got to happen.
This
I don't think
is-
we get to pick it.
This is self-serving one, but hey, Sammy, it's your Bantam House League coach here, Fred Whipp. Keep up the great work, man, and say hi to your dad for me, my Thursday beer league winger. Fred Whipp, wonderful guy, and his son Mark Whipp. I played hockey with
Not
for my
much
whole
of a
life.
coach though.
No,
Considering what
look
became
at
of
me.
you.
Yeah, buddy. Just check out my live barn highlights. You'll see Fred Whipp's work.
So did you get to know your dad when he called to complain about your ice time?
No, they're buddies.
No?
They're buddies. It's a small town thing, but love you, Freddie. Thanks for texting. There
That's
you go.
great.
Not a ton else really here on the text line. I guess if you're gun to your head, who you're starting the power play with in Game 7 for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Morgan Riley or Oliver Ekman-Larsson?
Great question. I do feel like we need to see some hockey first.
I was going to say you would have seen. Tell me how the 6 games went.
Yeah,
that Game 7. Tell me.
missing a
Give me a
lot of
narrative of the
information
6
here.
games before.
Did Ekman-Larsson have 50 power play points in the season?
Maybe neither. Maybe you reacquired Lyubushkin and you put him out there. I don't know.
Maybe it's Liljegren at that point.
Oh gosh,
Maybe he's got it figured out by then. I don't know. All right. Well, we got. Do we have any more before we?
Yeah, a couple more.
All right, well,
Willie
let's
Styles.
jam them in.
Willie Styles?
Yeah.
Is that one?
Yeah, I think
A
so.
little bit of one for Nylander.
Is that like a Will Smith reference from back in the day?
I don't really know what it
Because
refers to.
wasn't he like doing the whole big Willie Styles thing?
And this is one that there weren't many guys I was more excited about as a prospect for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but Jonas Gustafsson's nickname, the Monster.
I was just thinking that.
Oh, actually, Hildebeest is unbelievable.
Hildebeest is very good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Really like the Hildebeest.
And they've shortened it now to
Just Beast.
the Beast. Yeah.
And the way Berube says it, like he doesn't even bother with it, it's just Beast.
Yvonne Cornwallis, the Roadrunner.
Yeah. Oh,
Is that
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
That's it,
Well,
right?
I mean, you had the Rocket and the Pocket Rocket there too. Like you had all those great nicknames. Yeah.
Ryan Smith, Captain Canada. That one was always tough.
That was
because-
kind of an earned one too.
Well, yeah.
And give him a lot of credit. I mean,
Well,
he
he was-
showed
but
up
it was
all the
like-
time.
he was the captain of like the World Championship every year.
Oh,
Yeah, right? Like it was the World
But he
Championship.
showed up all the time.
every time.
Yeah, which was greatly appreciated.
And I think this is a perfect way to end. Maybe the best one ever is Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey.
Mr. Hockey.
Mr. Hockey's very good.
Yeah.
So there you go.
All right. Well, we got a ton of games this weekend. Toronto Maple Leafs playing the New York Rangers. Edmonton Oilers have a big match on Saturday night too. We got all the Canadian teams in action. So, Gord, thanks for joining us today.
I
Pleasure.
believe it's over. It actually flew by. I had a double check. Anyway, yeah, Kippy, stay away if you want, whatever, Well, man, we're coming back Monday. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Sammy. Good catching up. Good talking hockey.
Yeah, loved having you in here. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back next week. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.